it's not efficient to generate real product, real business in our industry. So that's so we focus more long-term approach and generate business and scale and generate revenue and exit. Yeah, this approach is we call the build-a-thons. And also as a build-a-thon platform, we supported any builders and founders to get access with any fund provided by the like blockchain project, kind of L1, L2. Actually, we supported so many blockchain ecosystem, kind of like a sort of base, GK Sync, Scroll, and like Optimism. So many Ethereum's ecosystems, blockchains project we supported so far almost 30, 40 over. And also we have the 60,000 over builder audience in the world. Actually, we are based in Japan, but we audience is totally global. So and we allocated $2 million grant money so far to the global builders and startups. So yeah, actually we approach is generate and encourage the builder to build a great business, not only just demo product, focused business, not only just like a DeFi product. We want generate more useful product for the common people to have us much better as our world. And this is my main focus business, but we I have the other side. Actually, I'm a podcaster in Japan. So in 3.5 years, so I published my podcast episodes in every week 1 hour. So yeah, in Japanese, but I wanted to expand my idea in English to grow for global. So this is great chance for me. Have us shared my idea in English. Yes, so far I mainly generate many contents in the only Japanese. Yeah, but as you know, Japan is very small market in the crypto. So I know I should be expand my world. So yeah, I'm very excited and very honored kind of this great opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kento.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think, yeah, you're probably underselling yourself. Your podcast is incredibly, it's got incredible reach and access in Japan. When we were going through, we were so impressed by the consistency and the content as well. And that was, and we did go through both Spotify and YouTube, and it was really impressive. So I will get to you in a little bit about how you've been able to build such a great audience in Japan and how you've been able to do that.
Yeah,
But
thank
for intros, next up, let's go, Dan. Tell us more about yourself.
Hi, I'm Dan, and I think I accidentally got good at teaching people things in the tech world because I was working in media in Los Angeles for a while. And one of the VPs had an older person that was a friend that they had to hire. And they kind of had to stick them somewhere, and they stuck them into my team. And this person had no idea how to use a computer. Now, this role involved you knowing how to use a computer, so they kind of left it up to me to teach somebody. And, I wasn't like a leader or a manager or anything, but they kind of pushed it onto me. Now, this was like my first time really teaching someone how to do something and explaining patiently and walking them through every step and making sure they understand the process. Now, just to really illustrate how much they didn't understand computers, they did not know the difference between left click and right click and how long you should hold and the different things that can do depending on what you're doing in the computer world. So I think this really gave me a good process of like, all right, how do you make this into something that anyone can understand so they can get involved with it too? So I think that's where I really learned my patience into uh, illustrating my knowledge and letting someone understand how to use something like crypto. Now, I got into crypto because I was still working in media. It was a lot of video processing, which left me with a lot of free time when the computers are processing things, like hours at a time. So lots of free time to read things online, go into Twitter, learn things about crypto. And I was super into miles and points and credit cards. And this was like 2017. And at the time, you could buy crypto with a credit card on Coinbase. And I had to spend a lot of money on credit cards to get the credit card bonuses. There was a 3% fee, but the bonus outweighed that significantly. So I was buying crypto, selling it, paying back the credit cards, getting a bunch of free frequent flyer miles and hotel points to travel the world. So that got me into crypto. I saw crypto pumping. And I was like, oh, maybe I should hold on to some of this stuff. And that's when I started jumping into the rabbit hole of getting into crypto. In 2020, COVID happened. I was kind of in the process of traveling the world for a year. That got cut off very quickly. And so I didn't want to go back and to my media job in Los Angeles. So I started with a blog and some finance content and some credit card stories and other different finance hacks. Eventually, I got into crypto content because I had friends interested in learning crypto. I was like, oh, okay, well, this could be content. And I posted it, it did well, and then the cycle began. So I'm here now.
Love that. And I yeah, that's such a cool, that is such a cool journey as well. Up with us here, hi Casey, welcome.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good. Do you want to also introduce yourself? I feel like people already know you, at least from the Octant side in our community. But for anyone who is watching and does not know you, do you want to tell us more about yourself and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Casey. It's nice to meet you guys. I am there's a lot of context if you haven't actually like tuned in until now that I feel like I have to get into. But yeah, I'm Casey. I am on the Ethereum Foundation funding coordination team. And we are collaborating with Octant on Epoch 9. For this space particularly, I don't think I'm talking from a team perspective though, because it's about like attention, right? And then nothing to do with funding, but I am speaking for myself here and my own opinions about how I think you can get attention online. So I'll just clarify that. But yeah, so I've been in the space since 2021. I've had a startup in the space called Learn Web 3. It did pretty well. And something interesting that's relevant for this talk is I've had a big account. I think I've had a viral video on like every social media platform, like on YouTube, on TikTok, on, I don't know if you count Twitter because Twitter is just posts, but I'm pretty well versed in social media at this point. And excited to give my thoughts.
Yeah, people don't know you're actually quite a great TikToker and you've got a whole audience there. And I think for anyone who wants to I'm sorry if I've doxed you on TikTok, but yeah, you've got some great content. All right, cool. So let's get to the actual topic, right? How do you make people pay attention? How do you make people listen and watch stuff? It feels like, and especially as a creator in past contexts, I have also run a media company, done all that fun stuff. But I remember like you just had to make decisions that were rage baity and clickbaity because that was the game, right? Like you just have to, it's tough to be a content creator. I don't think people realize how tough it is, especially when you're competing with all these other creators and competing for attention and attention that's consistently like, you know, your best video is only as good as your last a lot of times. And so there is so much that goes on. So I want to understand from each of you, like what is your approach? How are you constantly creating content, strategizing? Like, you know, what are some of your lessons that you have learned that have worked for you and your audience? Let's start with Costa. Let's start with you. What's your approach been?
Great. That's a nice question. I think that the approach it may vary depending on why are you creating content, and sometimes we forget to ask ourselves this question. I want to be a content creator, but why are you creating content? So depending on why you're doing this, if you are like maximizing for ads revenue, AdSense, or if you want to sell an info product, or if you just want to be heard and exchange some ideas, then your strategy may vary greatly. From my side, I was never intending to maximize numbers. Like I am not a content creator that relies on AdSense, for instance, or like monetization of my own social media. My idea of content creation was to establish myself inside of the market, like to grab my share of the market attention and to be able to do other stuffs like do lessons, do courses. I'm today a professor in two post-graduation courses. One of those is an MBA. And so I wanted to like be someone in the market to be able to live off the market, working with the market. So I had to do
One
like
question here, sorry. When you say market, can you clarify who you mean by market?
yes, good question. That mean the blockchain market or crypto market. Usually, when you think about the crypto market, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm going to buy and sell tokens, and these tokens are going to make me rich. But as I am a developer from Korea, and I was there during the Web2 revolution. I saw what the Web2 revolution was. It was a shift in technology and a shift in how business works and in how society works. We have a pre-Web 2 society and a post-Web 2 society. From the 20s, 2000 to the 2010, the world changed dramatically. And all the work relations and the way you make companies and work and live, this changes dramatically. And as soon as I understand what blockchain is about, especially after studying Ethereum, that's why I like to talk about Ethereum a lot, smart contracts, financial automation, my vision was clear. This is not a speculation only market. This is a technology market that will change the way how society works. And I want to be on the society aspect transformation, working with an entrepreneurship, building as an employee, doesn't matter. I want to work with that. And so my content was tailored and designed to put me in a good spot in this work market, in this building market, and not necessarily like let's make lots of revenue from ads, from info product selling or something like that. Then my strategy was, I am an influencer. I'm going to start now. I have 0 followers. What do? I just start posting content. I try to make something viral. The approach I took was a safer one. I started to aggregate value inside of pre-existing communities. So I looked at all of the Brazilian communities of blockchain, paid myself to be inside of some of those. Others were free. And once I got into these communities, I started to interact a lot, and I started to make free content there. And then I started to become famous inside of these communities. Soon enough, someone offered me a job. Then I got the job. I started to make content with another company, and then I became big enough there. And eventually, I followed my own way and started my own channel. So when I created my channel, I already had like 3,000 followers, and it had not one single video because I had already built it some network effect. So my strategy was do work for free, work hard, aggregate value before, then ask to be heard later. And that's how I've been working ever since. Not about maximizing or clickbaiting, but about generating true value, being honest, being like straightforward about what I think, and try to make like the community better. And that's how I got to where I am. But it's like this was my way forward, and not the only way possible.
I love that. That is incredible. And I love what you just shared, which is you literally did your research, literally invested into understanding what the local landscape was, joined the communities, did the work. A lot of people are like, oh, it's easy to say I want to do something, but understanding the work and the system and the process behind it can make all the difference. So that is incredible. All right, over to you, Dan. You tell us how do you make people watch? Like you've been creating all these great videos, and I think you really do understand long format too. And I have so many questions even around like how do you compete with short form even, and in a world where attention span and brain rot is so prevalent. So what is your approach, and how do you what's your
Well,
process?
my approach is not as good as Costa Crypto. I'm just trying my best, really. Because attention does differ depending on the platform, and I feel like long form has been harder to grow in recent times. I like to see what other creators are doing, what's getting attention, like where can I fit in within that. So I am trying a lot of different formats. I do think, humor does really resonate with people. It does attract them. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll try to put more of that into some content. I know showing up consistently works. So I understand all these processes. I just have to get that discipline because I love consuming content. I think too much because that's it's just so much doom scrolling with X and TikTok, and you just go in all these different directions, right? And I like to learn like what's going viral. I like to go into the comments. I like to see like what are people saying about things. So I am still in the figure things out stage for a lot of different socials. I think YouTube has been the best for me just because of SEO, just because of the deep dives and using, search terms for all the different timestamps has been an effective strategy. If someone is specifically looking for a video on something, whereas X has been a struggle, but I'm still trying and having fun with it as well as short form platforms like TikTok. So strategy vibes right now. The strategy is vibes.
But that's important. I think consuming is
Yeah.
important. And I say this because I don't want to feel guilty for all the doom scrolling that I do. Like I am on TikTok way too much. But I think
But we learn from that too.
yeah, exactly. This is marketing. What am I doing if
Yeah.
I'm not consuming content, right?
It's
So
called
that's why
researching.
Yes.
this is my number one thing. I love working in marketing because it gives me a chance to use social media and say it's for work, and I love that. So, where else do you get to do that? No, that's awesome. Kindo, tell us more about your perspective. How do you make people listen, and how do you make people?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as Dan and Castel says, it's like a vibe and motivation is very important in the first, of course. So I believe the why I share my idea that this purpose is so yeah, what's it? Based. It's a very most important. But so it's a first how about say motivations. But my idea, I have some strategy. So, for example, like of course, many people come like creators and like influencers want the how about say how reach more people, how get huge audience through their content. Of course, this is a great idea, but this is very common. I believe we should be more controller, more opposite approach to get a real engagement and real audience. So my opinion is to focus more core target, more niche audience through like difficult to share contents. For example, like long form content like podcast and more closed content like Instagram stories. I think the two way is a better way to get a real how about the engagement because for example like long form contents like podcast and video podcast, it's very how I say difficult to share easily. So how great content because audience needed listening from start to the last. So if I how about if I meet some great podcast contents, I should be just share with my comment, with my recommend comment. So this is a kind of push comment, recommend comment is very how about say effective to get a new audience than just how about say get audience through the timelines. So because this content is introduced by some people's same way. So Instagram story is this, as you know, disappears in just 24 hours. And Instagram story is difficult to kind of shares easily, and because this is disappear and very close contents, it's not viral. And Instagram, stories and podcast, it's difficult to just viral. So if I want spread the contents, I need telling directly with my friends, my audience. So kind of, so as a creators, we should be focused on how we get real recommend, how we get how about say push comment by audience. Kind of how about say we if we can get some audience through the real recommend, this audience is very how about say strong and get great engagement with the new followers. Some people's meet the new content, discovery new contents through some timelines and some viral contents, kind of this. Yeah, it's okay, but it's a low engagement because there are so many contents. But if I receive some recommend comment by my friends, I how about say will be like this content and these creators maybe. So yeah, we should be focused on how we get a real word of mouth recommend and the comment. Long form content and like ephemeral kind of disappears content is a good way to real engagement. Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
I,
this is my idea. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Like focusing on a niche audience, focusing on engagement, and then getting people to recommend you, because building loyal fans, I think that's 100%. Like if you can have 100 loyal fans, that's literally the starting point, right? I think there's a lot of great long form pieces as well that have been written on this. And then engagement for getting people to look at what you're talking about. That's another thing. I think that works on LinkedIn very well as well. If you like comment a lot on people's posts instead of just posting, like that definitely gets you attention. And Casey, what's your take? How do you get people to pay attention? This is something that I think, as you were tweeting about Epoch 9, I can 100% say it was so effective to get attention in a way that was so time boxed. But what's your approach, and how do you think we can make people watch and listen to stuff?
Yeah, thank you for that. It was like a group effort for Epoch 9. But before I even go, I just want to say hi to everyone in the chat. I see the Ivy, Kulcha, I see some. I see a lot of people that I recognize. So hi. I think my approach, at least what's worked for me personally, is just strategizing, right? So what content or what doing well on social media comes down to is there are niches that people are interested in, right? And it helps to remember that no matter how good or bad, like if all the content in a niche is bad, that niche will still exist because people want to see it, right? Like if there was I don't know, let's use a current niche as an example. Let's just say like book talk, right? Like the book community on Twitter, right? If the content was really, really bad in the book community on TikTok, then the niche would still exist because people still want to consume that content, right? So the niche is something that's always there. And then from there, it's just you're competing with all the top creators in that niche, right? And if you can make better content than those creators, then you will blow up, right? Depending on how big the niche is. So if I, for example, was a finance content creator, right? And that's a huge, huge, huge niche. I don't even want to call it a niche, but it's a huge pool of people. And you're on YouTube, and then you make the best content. Maybe finance isn't the best example because that comes down to investing in the correct things. Let's just say gaming, right? If you were on gaming YouTube, that niche is huge and you're the best creator in that niche. Even if it takes a year or 2 years for people to recognize you, you are going to grow astronomically. You're going to absorb everyone in that niche pretty much, and you're going to grow fast. So that's sort of my my strategy personally, what's worked for me, just understanding the niche, breaking down the best creators in that niche, and then working my hardest to be better than them.
I like that a lot. Yeah, you are competing with the best. Although a question I have, and I see another question here from Ivy, which is about vanity metrics. Kinjo addressed engagement. Is engagement more important than followers or like count? If anyone wants to take the question.
Three, how about the vanity metric? Things engagement for you think it's more important.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, engagement is a real metrics, I believe. It's like a followers, like impressions. I believe it's a kind of vanity metrics. So if we have the many followers, many audience, impressions, but no one's reactions, no one's click, no one's comment. It's a nothing. There are no nothing. So yeah, if we have the few followers, but there is a great engagement and great like relationship. It's a expand easily. So in the first, we focus the first 100 funds and a great engagement with the first funds. Yeah, if first in front of audience, it will automatically expand our real audience, not fake audience, real audience. Yeah, I believe so.
It depends, Ivy, from platform to platform. They're not all the same, but typically with the way most platforms work, like Twitter and TikTok, for example, is when you make a post, the post will be shown to some of your followers. And if those followers engage with your post, it'll be shown to more people. So typically engagement matters more than follower count, at least, I would say. Likes are different than follower count, and then there's comments. So it depends on the platform, but typically engagement matters for reach. Is my answer.
Yeah. For anything video related, it's just watch time. If a lot of people are watching a lot of the video, those platforms are going to want to push that to as many people as possible.
My take on that is that there are like two ways to answer this question. The first one is if we're talking about algorithms and like how algorithms boost our visibility. And nowadays, of course, if you look about how the way the social media works, engagement is more important than follower or like count. It is content that produces engagement is pushed more around. There is a good video made by the founder of Patreon entitled The Death of the Follower. It's a very, very good video. It's a TED Talk. It takes about half an hour. And this guy is like a veteran content creator from the era that follower was more important than engagement. So all of your followers actually had your content distributed to them. And now it's not like that. Now it's about engagement. And he talks about this shift, how social media are shifting. But I also take another way to look at this question, which has a more deeper meaning. And I'll give you an example. Brazil is crazy. Let's talk about Brazil. We have lots of like niches and sub-niches taking from this approach. And we have a specific sub-niche of Brazilian blockchain culture, which you guys are going to, it's crazy, man. These are like really, really ideological people that are really red-pilled, and they have like a church values or something like ultra right-wing mentality, and they love Bitcoin. And they mesh all of that together and make some kind of bizarre cult where they can talk about like messianic stuff and church and Bitcoin and salvation and traditional family values all in the same talk. These guys are really, really, really bizarre niche of crypto. But they produce a lot of engagement. Like they have heavy engagement because they are very ideological. They are borderline fanatic. And there was one day in which I made a critique. Like I did not say anything really bad. I made a critique about what happens if you try to mix in blockchain and religion on the same page. You're going to get confusing outcomes. And I made this critique very soft, very light, very polite. And these guys got a hold of my video and they stormed the content session. So this video got like way more visualizations, hundreds of comments, and it was good engagement. I don't know if it was good engagement, because it's not about only the numbers. It's about who you are talking to, and about which kind of people are you reaching, and what kind of feelings and what of kind of change you are promoting in their lives. So this is an example for me in which I do not really want to talk to this niche, to these the people in this niche, even though they are good engagement providers. So this is a kind of reflection that I also like to make when I talk about let's get engagement no matter what the cost. For me, it's not about getting all of that at any cost.
I think this is the equivalent of not all press is good press, but obviously there's different schools of thoughts on there. I think from the perspective of someone who looks at creators day in and day out, right? And when we assess who we want to work with, the quality of the audience can also make a difference. And I remember when anytime I've been part of projects where we're making decisions about who do we fund, and I have run so many tests working with people with millions of followers and then micro influencers, as we would call them at that time, who had an audience between 1 to 5,000 people, 5 to 15. There were different categories. We always saw more purchasing influence from the ones who had a smaller audience because they got better engagement and they had a closer connection with the people that they were creating this content for. And so like that was so eye-opening, because I remember a lot of the clients that I worked with who were like, no, we want the big numbers. And I said, cool, that's great for your vanity. If you want to move numbers, you need to look at the data. And the data was very clear around people who prioritize engagement just led to more action. And that was the whole point, right? Is like, what can that do? And I think that the crypto equivalent of that is also like who is engaging, who are you influencing, even if you've got a smaller audience, but if there's a difference in the kind of perception you're able to build, because someone with a much smaller audience, but a much better, I'm not going to say better, just a very different profile of an audience is consuming it, you're kind of getting the message across. So I think that can also make a difference. Now I know we have like 40, well, not, we're done with like almost 40 minutes and we've got 20 minutes left. So I do want to bring it back to the epoch. And I want to talk a little bit about your Ethereum work, right? Like, so one question that I think everyone in the Ethereum community, and obviously that's top of mind, is like, how can you make Ethereum resonate more? And as creators and who've been doing this work, have been educating people, onboarding people, engaging with people, what are your 2 cents on how can we do this effectively? I don't want to like pick. So whoever wants to actually volunteer, unless you want me to pick somebody first.
I think just showcasing the Ethereum economy, which goes outside of just traders, investors, developers, that if regular people can find jobs in this world of crypto without having to know what a crypto wallet is, that is the door for them to get curious. That is the door for them to be like, oh, maybe I'll look into roles at this company. Maybe I'm an HR specialist, maybe I do marketing, maybe I'm good with socials or editing, and just showcasing all these different roles, because I know in a lot of different countries the job markets are tough and they're not looking to crypto, and crypto is the fastest growing industry, and that industry is going to continue growing. So if we reframe what crypto is beyond gambling, that people might start seeing these opportunities and taking it more seriously.
Yeah, I tell people I work in tech, and then if they ask, then I say blockchain, and then if they ask what kind of blockchain, and I say I'm on the good side of blockchain, which is Ethereum, of course, and then the philanthropic side maybe. And I like, because if I say crypto, they just ask me what they should put money into, and they assume I'm a trader. And I experienced that so much, so I've had to fine tune my answer.
Whenever people ask me like what I do, I never say YouTuber. I just say accounting, and then that's it. No one wants a follow-up question in accounting. Yeah, they're like, okay, that checks out.
My take on that is that it's not really that hard to talk to people about Ethereum and to bring attention to Ethereum, because Ethereum is so much more than a token. It's a whole ecosystem. You can work with it in so many layers, actually layers, like second layers, but also layers and dimensions. You can talk to people about airdrops where they can use their free time and their attention, their social effort to get rewards. People can learn to program and become Web3 developers. People can work on social media, growth, video editing. It's like a huge, vibrant ecosystem and a huge marketplace of like work relations as well, and also opportunities for investing. And the way I tackle this issue is that I first try to explain people how this technology can change the way society works, and then I talk about tokens and about like how a blockchain works, what is a hash rate, or what is a proof of stake or something like that. But if you bring the way that the ecosystem itself is developing and all of the opportunities that are there, and try to match that with the current limitations of our present society, then it becomes very easy to bring people on board. It's just a shift on how to explain things. I like to do the example, if you go back in time, for instance, and meet like Newton, no, Edison, sorry. He was inventing the lamp and say, Edison, oh my God, man, how are you? Please explain me this lamp stuff. If Edison was to explain you the lamp, he would give you a huge lesson on materials, like the electrons, the resistance, how you get the segment and it transforms resistance into light, and then you have a vacuum chamber. And if you nowadays you ask someone about a lamp, the guy who will plug the lamp and make a switch and there is light. There is the lamp. So we have to stop talking a bit with blockchain about its inner workings and start talking more what blockchain is doing with society. Then it will become very easier. And Ethereum makes that really easy to do with the state that is nowadays, the level of development that we have there. In my opinion, of course.
Yeah. I believe, I 100% agree there for the caster's comments. So yeah, we should be stop there. So text, the kinds of discussions, conversation. We should be focused more on what is a useful use case and what kinds of we can provide positive impact to the real world, not only the on-chain world. We should be focused more like a real world change. And for more efficiently realize this, so I think we need some more role models. Kinds of KOL, influencer, content creator, and also like developers, founders, and kind of startup. So there's almost only the like a casino apps, kinds of DeFi. So yeah, DeFi is great, but it's common people don't don't interest kinds of gamble. So common people wanted their life much better. So I believe in crypto they're more tool for improve their life, like a stable coin. I think stable coin is their best use case for improve common people's life. So for kind of like for example, like some content creators showing the stable coins used for case studies, and we should be some push the more great startup company for like great examples. So that's so many serious developers shift to the on-chain crypto in industry. I think nowadays in the on-chain economy, almost people focus DeFi industry because for serious developers don't like the gamble. Serious developer want change the world.
Yep.
So we focus more kinds of more useful examples and real world and like how generate the role models for the serious developers and regular peoples. So it's not easy, but we should be try to this challenge continuously. Yeah, thank you.
So really great approaches, and I absolutely agree with all of them. I do want to take a moment to welcome Benji, who's here as our special guest for today's session. Hi, Benji.
Hey, GM, how's it going?
Good.
Hey.
We've spent the last 46 minutes talking about how to make people watch and listen and pay attention, and we've got 3 of our best creators from our cohort with us. So tell us more about what you want to share. I know there's some interesting perspectives that you kind of wanted to mention as well that are on the topic of, like, we were just talking about how do we onboard and get people to understand Ethereum and actually like take it more seriously, and really just, you know, how do we really make people pay attention? So that was like our bigger question. But what's your take on that?
Awesome. So I have a multitude of takes here. I think so the question being, how do we get people to pay attention? I think it's similar to like how anyone pays attention to anything generally. It's either a couple things. In life, people pay attention to things that either one help them get out of a certain situation that they're in. So like it can be money, right? Like someone who wants to make more money, that's something, or someone who wants to get more clout, that's something, or someone who sees an opportunity that helps them up level or like meet others. Like there's all these different reasons and human incentives as to why people do things generally. They'll pay attention to stuff. Within this, I think crypto has like hit on a couple, but it's never fully driven it home. One example I think in which people really look into crypto generally is like, okay, I can make money in this industry. So what they do is they'll be like, okay, crypto, I see it in the news, I'm going to go on whatever, download Coinbase or Binance or whatever, and like go and buy a coin. Like, great, okay, I'm using crypto. Is that really paying attention though? That becomes an open question. So I think where we can actually really focus on is like, what other things outside of that would get people to be interested in entering this industry? And I think when we think of that, it's like, okay, what are real problems that we're solving through this technology? What is happening in the world? What is our perspective on things happening in the world? What is our, there's so much happening. Like there's privacy things happening in the world. There's like, IP related things happening. There's like people who are addicted to their phones and are like getting falsified information from AI that's happening. These are things that are happening in the world. These are things that blockchains fix. But if we go into it being like blockchains fix everything, people are just going to look at us and be like, okay, what? Like you're just a crypto bro, which is very granted and it's fine because a lot of people have been like scammed that way too, unfortunately. But I think if we actually approach things in the sense of like, okay, let's figure out what are core human related problems that exist today. I think one that we have understood is money, right? Like stable coins. But even I have my criticism on that side too, on the way we're talking about stable coins as an ecosystem, as an industry, because if you look at how people are talking about stable coins, people say stable coins are the future, right? People say stable coins are going to grow in size. What does that mean to a person who doesn't know what stable coins is? Like, what does that mean to the person walking down the street? If I go to someone walking down the street, I'm like, hey man, stable coins are going to grow 30 times. What will they think? They'll be like, what are you talking about? Okay, whatever. They'll not pay attention to it. Versus I walk over to that person and say, hey, look, like if you want to be able to send money across the world, if you want to make sure that your money cannot be stopped when your hard-earned money cannot be stopped, essentially. If you want to make sure you can like maybe convert to a currency that's not falling, stablecoins help. Now they're like, oh, interesting. Okay, great. That actually has a direct impact on my life. So now I pay attention. You have my attention now. What's stablecoins? And then you do the other stuff. So I think it's really, really important for us to like practice a lot more empathy when it comes to talking about things. No one cares is the general assumption that we should be having, and it's not because no one cares about crypto. I think that's a misconception. Some people get like upset, like, oh man, like no one's talking about crypto, no one cares about crypto anymore. Like, nah, it sucks. The truth is, no one cares about anything anymore. You have to make them care, right? Like, if you look at the average person's life, including ourselves, like we're on Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're looking at so many things, we're inundated with things that want our attention over and over again. I think at one point, because of that, we almost get angry at new things that want our attention, where it's like, oh, come on, I have to pay attention to this thing now, or we get sick of things quickly. So I think that's something to consider. Be a lot more personable, fix like real human problems, but frame things in real human problems too. Stablecoins on their own that's not the word, that's not the term. But being able to send money to a loved one and using emotional reasoning. Humans make emotional decisions more than logical ones. Using emotional reasoning, like not saying, hey, this, even let's say an example is, let's go back to the stablecoin example. The worst way to do it is say, hey, stablecoins are you walk up, let me paint the scene. You're walking on the street, someone's in the middle of the street, and you're going to approach them, and let's say you talk to them. There's 3 ways to do it. The worst way is saying, hey, stablecoins are the future. They're going to grow to be $30 trillion in 5 years. Someone's going to be like, well, you're a creep. What are you doing? Go away. Right? That's the reaction.
Yes.
The second one is okay, hey, do you want to send money around the world? Do you want to like, if you want it to be easy, if you want it to be instantaneous, if you want to be able to convert a currency to a more stable currency, like, there you go. Like you can use this thing, stable coins, interesting. The third way, which I think is actually the most interesting, and I think something that we lack sometimes, is the very emotional framing of it. Like, hey, do you have family outside? Would you send money to help them with their lives? Do you have, do you go on a trip the other day and your card didn't work or you weren't able to buy something easily? Hey, are you also suffering from like currency inflation? Like, do you feel like the prices are rising too much on like local things that you shop in? Well, stablecoins could potentially help you on that side. Like there's like that framing where it's like, okay, now you're instantly a bit more personal. So that's what I'd say in terms of like my general thoughts on like how do you get people to pay attention, is to actually like pay attention to them versus expecting them to pay attention to us. Who are they? What do we think they need? Like all of that.
I love that. And it's a very, very true one. Of course, it kind of hits home because as an expat or immigrant, or if you've got family back home, you're like, okay, this is such a serious thing, and it is absolutely true. Or if you come from a country like mine, where your local currency constantly, there's constant inflation, and people back home keep money in like dollars or pounds or euros just because it's safer to do that versus keep it in your local currency. So that absolutely becomes something that's a bit more interesting and people can actually understand too. So that was so beautifully articulated. Thank you, Benji, for that.
Now, based on Benji's examples, I think there's two really good videos that reference that really well. So Jesse Polak from Base, I think earlier in the year, was on the street in San Francisco trying to give people $50 in stablecoins, and they were all just running from him. And then at the Base app launch a few weeks ago, they were at this place and like, hey, do you want a free juice? Something they can understand immediately, just download this app. And that worked. So it's just how do you frame it?
Yeah, that's a really good example. And then we had Naomi who did a version of that again, but in a very different spin. Because she tried to recreate what Jesse was doing, but in a way that was a little bit more engaging. And I remember that video went viral because one, it's just a format that can be done if you have a little bit of fun with it. So shout out to Jesse for trying, and then shout out to other creators who've actually taken that and that message really resonates. Benji, is there anything else you want to share? I know there was a couple of other thoughts that you had as well before we.
Totally. I think one thing that would be really cool for us to like explore all together within our community is how do we also position, crypto is not like just a technology, it's a movement, it's almost like a thought leader in some cases, especially as like the world becomes more centralized, right? Like as long as the internet gets more centralized, and there are some things like that are maybe sound a bit more taboo that I think working with creators on, we could really find some interesting middle ground. So one being privacy. You're seeing a lot already about like crypto privacy, like what does that mean and all that. But what we're really talking about is like privacy on the internet, like your digital freedom, like your digital privacy, right? Like things like that, like how crypto can potentially help your digital privacy, and ensure that your data doesn't get leaked and all whatnot. And this works for institutions, this works for end users, everything. But I think what's missing is like for narratives like that, it's scary, right? Like I think when you say privacy to someone, they're like, what are you trying to hide? And maybe there's a way, especially with people here who are listening, for us to figure out like, privacy is not about hiding something. Privacy is about choosing what you show. That's what it is. And there is a difference there. It's not just for creepy people. It's not just for bad people. It's for you, right? Like you lock your door in the bathroom when you go to the bathroom. Like online, you don't lock your door. Online, you are naked. Like there's these issues. And especially as more of our lives come online, that's only going to become more and more important. Right? We're seeing this happen across the world. So I think like things like that and conversations like that will be really exciting. We're going to be posting a lot about that stuff. Would absolutely love your guys' engagement. Check out the Ethereum Foundation Twitter, check out our Twitters. Let's like figure out what's a good way to talk about this thing. And I think one of the things as well, especially with creators that I would love to help with in any ways, I think like the best, like art is like the language, like ultimate language. It's like the ultimate form of storytelling. storytelling is the ultimate form of anything. It's the most important currency we have. And what we've been missing is that, in the sense that there are efforts of people creating things, but it sometimes doesn't coalesce into like where other discussions may be happening. If we can bridge the gap there, that can be so exciting. I'd love to see like, maybe like under comments of like official posts and stuff coming from the Ethereum Foundation, like people maybe giving a spin on it, and people maybe making like rewording it in another case and stuff. I think that stuff goes a long way in like helping spread what we're really doing here.
I love that. Thank you, Benji. That was really great. And absolutely, I think we're gonna get together with everyone else in the cohort too. So for everyone, I know there's a few folks from our cohort who are watching, and we'll organize this separately. But we're gonna keep a lookout for the announcements and the updates from the Ethereum Foundation's accounts. So shout out and please go follow their account. And then on the other side, yeah, we're going to see everyone's recreation of what of how they interpret this information too. All right, so thank you, Benji, for that, and for joining us and for sharing that. I hope we see you in other streams too. And now I think we're at the last part of our Epoch stream, which is the most important part. So we know that now it's going to be almost like close to an hour to allocation window starting, which is like when the fun part begins and when the matching funds are starting to, we'll see all the fun numbers get split up. So my question to you, Dan, Kinjo, and to Costa as well, why should people allocate to you? And tell us more about how it can make a difference for Ethereum, for the community, and just in terms of moving the needle. What do you think? This is your pitch, so have your time.
All right. Well, I'm just trying my best, as you can see here, to get more people involved in crypto by making content they relate with. And having the funding does help a lot with additional resources because, I don't make a lot of content that is sponsored or shilly. So as a content creator, I do not make a lot of money. And I recently got a job with a crypto company doing content for them. So having these additional resources is very helpful for creating very honest and sincere content, and funding me would be very helpful.
Thanks, Dan. I think people don't realize it. Like it's easier to be a creator who's just shilling and pump and token.
It is. They make a lot of money.
But what is tough is to actually create content that's valuable and that's not shilly. So I think creators with integrity is just so much tougher. But thank you for doing that. All right, who wants to go next? Kinjo?
Well, I can go. Kinjo?
Okay, thank you. Okay. Hi. Okay. So, how about this? So, yeah, actually, my unique point is not only the virtues, of course. So I published my idea for how we can expand the Ethereum's value to the world, not only virtual. We organize offline events so many times so far. In just 2 years, I organized 200 over some like a meetup event, workshop event, and hackathon event, showcase event like East Denver, DevCon last year, DevCon, and this year's East Denver, ETC, and Tokyo's WebEx event, KBW, last week the Token 2049. We organized for the like build a focus event and also Ethereum ecosystem focus. For example, last week, so we invited Adrian, he's a founder success lead on Ethereum foundations. So actually, we are very close with the Ethereum ecosystem, and we supported Ethereum ecosystems expand so in offsite. So yeah, actually we get engaged with communities in offsite in not only Japan. Of course, we mainly organize event in Japan, but not only Japan, we organize some events. And next is the Dev Connect. We discuss with the Dev Connect team, so how we collaborate for event in the main venue. And so yeah, in offsite and virtual, we can provides some how about say value and use case and great example for how about say real world on Ethereum. Yes, Ethereum values. I think it's my value, not only just video podcast. We can organize a real event in the world. Yeah, thank you.
And nothing's harder than making people show up. As someone who has done events, let me tell you, that is tough. So thank
Yeah.
you for all the work that you do. All right, Costa.
Well, my turn. That's the hard part, selling. Even if you're selling yourself, but it's an honor to be amongst such great creators. Like, it's a very refined selection you guys did. If someone thinks about like helping funding Casta, myself, I think it's a way to foster more presence of philosophy and thinking about blockchain. I really intend to start making international content, speaking in English. Like, I'm very big in Brazil, and I'm starting to make this move to go abroad. And of course, this funding would be really helpful. I could like speed up my gear, fund more presence in international events, make more connections, and attempting to bring like all of the good things that my content is being brought to Brazil, try to bring that internationally. And to support me, it's a way to support more thinking effort in crypto. And I think we are really like in need of more thinkers. And what I can do in return is to pledge my best efforts to keep delivering good thinking on the market.
Amazing. Thank you, Casa. Thank you, Kinjo. Thank you, Dan. Casey, do you have any words before we wrap up as well? Oh, you're muted.
The only words I have are thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you to our amazing host for making this possible. And I'm excited to see the content that you guys make.
Absolutely. I am too. And so, again, as a reminder, our allocation window is going to be open in less than an hour. Go on to octant.app, make sure you're allocating, and make sure you are checking out every single project. Obviously, check out Costa, Kinjo, and Dan. We're going to be back tomorrow as well with a whole new group of projects and folks who are doing really great work. Tomorrow, we're also talking about how do you effectively onboard people to Ethereum. So you can see a theme here. I think if you're a creator and you're watching us, there's going to be a lot of gems in the next 2 weeks. And then we have some surprises for next week that we're sharing. But again, thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the work that you do and your content. We are really big fans. Our community is rooting for you. And best of luck with the epoch. I know this is like really, really nerve-wracking sometimes to see the numbers and the leadership ranking change. But like I said, like the rankings change up until the last minute. So take it how you will. But I know that the community absolutely does pay attention and time and effort into wanting to understand what people are doing and the influence and impact of their work. And I am sure the community is going to make a great decision. And on our side, like we love your content. That's why you are part of the 30. We really do believe in you all and are rooting for you. And I think regardless of what the outcomes here with the allocation window are, I hope you all keep creating and impacting the world in a positive way, because I think we are better off with your content in it. And it makes such a big difference to have this positivity on our different socials and timelines.
Thank you. Try my best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, see you all tomorrow. And again, don't forget to allocate. Your rewards are going to be wasted if you don't, and it's going to be a real waste. So you could do so much good. And please do allocate to projects. With that, we're signing off from our teams, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.